Okay. We good to go? All right. Hi, everyone. It's good to see some familiar faces back at the meeting. Welcome to our second general meeting of the spring semester. We're so excited to have you guys here. And I just want to say, and I think I speak for the board as well, we know it's spring break and people are probably going back home, wanting to relax. So just for you guys to be out here right now, to just attend our speaker event and to attend the meeting during spring break just means a lot to us. So thank you guys so much for taking time to be here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. Just to update, just to let you guys know, any updates about the clubs will be addressed after the guest speaker is speaking. So if you're waiting for the next club meeting date, that'll be after, addressed after. So without further ado, let me introduce Ms. Samantha Oregel. She is a Central Valley native and she's a UCLA alumni who's in her current year, she's in her first year in a PA program for Western University.
Wow, so lovely. Thank you, Melina, and thank you everyone for showing up today. Yeah, I was shook that you guys are in spring break. So that's really, really amazing that you made it to this. I don't know if you joined my previous presentation last semester, but if you didn't, that's okay. I included a few slides kind of about myself, but I don't want to spend too much time on that today, just because I think I'd rather give you more information about, the cost of PA school, the cost of applying to PA school, and then even after finishing your program and the costs associated with that, and ways to finance PA school or pay for PA school. I think it's a topic that if you do your own research on yourself, you can honestly find the same information that I gave to you, but I kind of took some of that and just included it all in this PowerPoint for you all. So I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, probably like once I'm done. And honestly, no, it's okay. You can interrupt whenever you want. It's not like a big deal. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so, and these are just the same slides that I used last time to introduce myself. Like Melina said, I'm from Corcoran, California. That is where I grew up. That's where I went to high school. I went to undergrad at UCLA, then came back home and started working essentially in the ER. The ER was kind of where I got all of my experience and shadowing and all the information. But this is my fam bam, my grandma, my parents, my doggies, and then my favorite shows, some of the musicals that I enjoy, and yeah. Oh, and my fiance, can't forget about him. Yeah, so this is also the same slide as last time. I just wanted to remind everyone that it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to PA school. It took me from the time that I graduated UCLA to when I got admitted, that was a 5-year gap for me. So I know it's just like this stigma of young people doing and accomplishing everything as fast as you can so you can get your life started and all that, but I'm here to tell you that try to not think about that so much because it can be stressful. And I mean, I've been in your shoes, and to this day, sometimes I still think back and think, dang, maybe if I, would have been more proactive earlier, if I would have networked earlier, maybe I could have been ahead of the game. But no, I always remind myself that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And yeah, so hopefully that's a good reminder for all y'all too. If you have any questions about my experience, we'll probably ask about that later if you want. But essentially, ER scribe, ER tech, patient care advocate, and Spanish medical interpreter were my main experiences. Yeah, so essentially my extracurricular activities were about sharing my knowledge and shared experiences with students, families, and the community. I think that's really important. It's one of the reasons why I'm happy to be here today, because I wouldn't be where I am if people wouldn't have shared their experiences and their journeys with me. And I feel like sometimes I think, oh my God, yeah, I hate talking about myself. I really do. But then I remember, well, when I was, a few years back, I pursued people who had gone through that journey. And I appreciated that they shared their journey with me. So that's why I'm here. And I hope it's helpful to y'all. Okay, so I started PA school at Western U in Pomona, California. It is a fully accredited PA program, 24 months long. I started that in August. But I submitted my application to the NHSC Scholarship in May, which I'll talk more about later. So I found out that I was accepted in March, submitted the scholarship application in May, moved into my apartment. That's my dog pillow because I miss my dog. Moved into my apartment in July. And then school began the first week of August. And at our program, we actually had the white coat ceremony that first week. I wasn't too thrilled about it just because I personally, this is gonna sound, I don't know, it's not gonna sound nice, but I just didn't feel like I deserved to get even my student white coat yet because I haven't even gone through didactic phase. So it's like, oh my God, what if I fail? What if I don't even pass didactic year? But that doesn't matter. Well, I kept reminding myself, the fact that I made it here and I have a seat, that should be celebration enough. So I hope that whenever you get to that spot, you might have the same thoughts as I did, but always remind yourself that you're meant to be there. All right. And then so we had orientation that week. It was all in person. Remember, we're still in pandemic era. No matter what anyone tells you, y'all, we're still in pandemic era. And so that same week, we were doing orientation in person. I received notification that I had got the scholarship. So I was like super stoked, obviously very, oh my God, just very, very, very blessed and thankful for that. And then so move on to, so classes begin the next week. It was 1 week of orientation and then boom, right into HEENT, so learning about the eyes and nose, etc. Moved into that. And then in September, I think it was maybe like 6 weeks into in-person instruction, which was it, Omicron, Delta? I don't even remember the strains anymore, but we started getting a lot of COVID numbers on campus. So our school decided to move to an online hybrid instruction. So basically all our lectures began being streamed via Zoom, as I'm sure all of you have plenty of experience with. But our in-person skills labs, like learning how to do physical assessment on somebody, or learning how to do mole excisions, stuff like that, in person or hands-on training, we still were able to do that. So it was maybe like once every 2 weeks that we had to drive to campus to attend these classes. And then so, oops. And so, yeah, so up until September, until February, we were all online. So we finally returned to in-person instruction mid-February. So it's kind of been interesting to see how my classmates, how we've all reacted to being online and then going in person. Initially, everyone was like, oh no, I don't want to go online. And then when we were told we're going to go back in person, everyone was like, no, we don't want to go back in person. And I think that's just because we really appreciated the time that we had to study right before an exam, or just having more study time, especially for my classmates who are commuters. I have classmates that commute almost up to 2 hours one way. Yeah. I don't know. I live about a 7-minute drive from campus, so that's not bad at all for me, and I'm very thankful to be able to live close to campus. But yeah, a lot of my classmates commute, so obviously that's, oh my, and then with the gas prices now, it's a lot. It's a lot, and you know, that's something that you couldn't really predict or budget for, right? How do you know? How are we supposed to know that a war was going to erupt and then gas prices, groceries, everything was just going to get more expensive? We don't, right? So it's kind of important why it's an important reason why we should try to budget before we even get into PA school. That way you can do what you can to save while you can, if you're working, but more into that. So let's see. So I don't remember if I spoke about how much it costs to actually apply to PA school, but here's a quick breakdown. So as you know, the CASPA, most PA programs want you to apply via CASPA, and to apply to one program via CASPA, that's $179, and then an additional $55 for each additional program that you apply to. So it's pricey, right? But there is an option, and I'm sorry, I didn't include it here. I forgot to type it up, but you can there is a waiver fee that you can apply to that CASPA provides. And I think it'll waive maybe like 4 programs or something like that. But it's on the CASPA website. It's very easy to find. If you need help finding it, you can just ask me later. And then also, so each program, it's going to have its own application via CASPA. And then also they might have an additional supplemental application that they want you to turn in for their program. And that can range from them asking you more essay questions that you have to type up, or it can be short answer questions, or maybe just clicking a few, like, have you ever been in the military? Like simple questions like that. So it ranges for each program. Additionally, the pricing might also vary per program. Most of them, I don't think charged at all, but I think there were like maybe a handful, the ones that I applied to, that did charge me maybe upwards towards $50. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. The GRE, I wish programs are doing pretty good about kind of demolishing the GRE for admissions, but some programs still require you to take it. Some programs only recommend, or just say, if you took it, fine. If not, that's fine too. So make sure you're checking in with each program and what they require. But obviously the GRE, the test itself is going to cost money, and then distributing that GRE score to each program is going to cost an additional amount. Additionally, the CASPER test. I only did the CASPER test for Stanford's program. It's not, I think it was maybe no more than $30, the test itself, but then distributing the score to Stanford cost maybe like $12 or something. So that's another cost. And then of course, once you get that interview, you're gonna have to think about, oh, am I going to have to travel? Gas, is my car okay to travel far if I need to travel far? Am I gonna have to, I don't know, maybe pay a family friend or someone to drive me to my interview? So am I gonna have to, give them gas money? Am I gonna have to fly to this interview? Am I gonna sleep in the town of the program the night before so I'm not panicked the morning of? Food, clothing. And then also, a lot of people don't think about this, but a lot of us work. And so having that time away from work is also, in a way, money, right? Because you're not at work to make that money. And I think so many programs, and any program, not just PA programs, they don't think about all these factors that go into what it takes for an individual to apply to PA school. There's so many things that not everyone has to worry about, if you know what I mean. And then so once you get accepted, in order to reserve your spot, you have to put in a seat deposit. And those range anywhere from $300 to $1,000. And then so you have to really budget for this initially, because what if you get an acceptance somewhere, maybe not your top choice program, and their deadline for you to claim that seat is in a month or so, but you still are hoping to get that notification from your top program. Yes, girl, I see you. You're gonna have to put in the deposit, because what if you don't end up getting into that program? Then you lost the opportunity to attend this program, and that sucks. And that's a decision that, you know, you'll have to make if and when you get there. So that's also something very, very important to keep in mind. I was very lucky, or not, because I only got accepted to Western, so I didn't have to make that tough decision. But that was how the place that I found myself for that situation. And then so here I kind of made this map. The locations are not accurate, obviously, but just a general sense of where all the PA programs in California are and their tuition costs. I can't believe some of these programs are almost $200,000. I mean, look at USC, look at Stanford, almost $200,000 just tuition, y'all. So these numbers are just tuition, maybe fees, but most of these I pulled from each program's website, and it's just a tuition. And I was like, should I put this on here? Like, I don't want to scare them because it's very daunting, but I think knowing how much it is, it's best for us to know. That way we can try and at least prepare ourselves for how we're gonna pay for it, or how many loans we're gonna prospectively take out. And then, so yeah, so the average cost of PA programs in California is 120 grand. I know programs in Texas, I think, are like 30 grand, 40 grand, you know, so don't forget about those schools. If you're willing to travel, do it, you know, but just remember that out-of-state programs might have different tuition costs for in-state and out-of-state students or residents, however they word it. And then, so yeah, and then so I just wanted to bring your attention also to some of the newer programs that are up and coming, if you haven't heard. AT Still just, they're about to, I believe, start their first cohort, what are we in, April? I think in the fall. And that's in Santa Maria, and it's the first PA program in the Central California. So they're on the Central Coast, they're at Santa Maria. One of my friends, I believe, got accepted here. So yeah, so that one's new, y'all. So that's a good option. AT still has a great reputation in Arizona. And I believe, I'm assuming, because Arizona, AT still students from Arizona do their clinical rotations like the family healthcare networks of the Central Valley, particularly Visalia, they go to Kauai Delta. I'm assuming they might also do that for Santa Maria, but I didn't check on that for you. So that could be a good option if any of you are from the Central Valley and kind of want to try and stay local, that might be a cool option. And then I was surprised to see that UC San Diego is coming up with a new PA program in La Jolla. It's probably going to be expensive, but I mean, all of them are, right? Apparently coming in January of 2024. So look out for that. And then my apartment is in North Pomona, but I'm basically living in Claremont. It's like the neighboring town. And Claremont, the town's called Claremont, they're about to open their PA program. Where did I list it? Ah, yes, it's the Keck Graduate Institute. Where? I'm like, my professors always use the little, the laser pointer. Okay, I don't know where it's at. Anyways, it's here. It's called Keck Graduate Institute, not to be confused with USC Keck. This is a different Keck. not related to USC at all, to my understanding. And it's actually right down the street from me. So, and from the looks of it, it looks like a very nice, big, modern, not big, but like one nice big building. There's a lot of grass. Claremont itself is a very, it's a very nice neighborhood, very quiet. We have a lot of, I don't want to say old people homes, nursing homes and retirement homes in the area. So it's very calm. The police station is right down the street. So I think it'll be an exciting program to see envelop. So that's coming up too. And then Point Loma, Nazarene, in San Diego, apparently. Or are they provisional? I'm not sure if they already have a cohort going on, honestly. But yeah, so those are just some of the new programs. And then so PA school itself, how much is it? I didn't put estimates of how much all of these things cost because it will vary for each program. But I at least try to list everything that I could think of, everything from what I've been having to pay, what I've seen from other program websites. And I've listed it all in the upcoming slides so that hopefully by the end of this, you can just take these slides and just start estimating how much you think you're going to have to pay, or going to the school's websites and jotting these things down. So for actual tuition and fees, remember tuition is just how much they are charging you per unit of the class that you are taking at this program. So that's tuition only. And then you have all the fees, the back, like student body fees, graduation fees, loan fees, I'll talk about a little bit afterwards. Of course, you have your background check. Whenever you accept to go to the program, you're gonna have to go through a background check. There's exam software that you might have to pay for. I know a lot of PA programs use the software called Examplify or ExamSoft. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that software, but we had to pay for that to take all of our exams on. And then end of rotation exams, which I am personally not familiar with yet, but I guess I'm gonna have to pay for these exams as well. So after each rotation, you'll have to take that corresponding rotations exam. And so I guess that costs money. And then so medical equipment like stethoscope, your white coat, any scrubs that your program might, have you buy as well. We don't have scrubs. I feel like Western U is, I believe, the least expensive program in California. So I think they try to exclude kind of unnecessary costs for students. But then, of course, your books and supplies, although, and I'm sure you all know too, a lot of these days you can find the books, and then honestly, your program might also have, might give you access to the books online version via their library. So a lot of our books, like our main Bible book, is available to us via online. So I haven't actually had to pay for a book unless I wanted to. And I've only purchased like 3 books, and they weren't as much as they can be. And then, so of course, any technology that you might want or need, computer, laptop, iPad, it's true what they say, an iPad is very, very helpful in PA school. You can write on it, you can take notes on it. I had one in undergrad, but I didn't use it how I do now because I don't think the Apple Pencil existed, right? So I really, really love my iPad. And if you can get one, I highly recommend it. I think everyone in my class has one, or they have those computers that you flip the screen and then you can write on it. Those are pretty cool. And then something else, some programs will include BLS and ALS course fees in their like tuition and fees, but mine didn't. So I think it's another one of those spots where my program's like, we're not gonna include it, but you still need to pay for it. So BLS can range anywhere from like $50 to $90, depending on where you take it. So that's just your basic life support, like knowing how to do CPR and stuff like that. But at the beginning of the year, our class vice president actually arranged for a CPR company to kind of host a bunch of us at a time. So we were able to get that BLS class at a discounted rate. I think maybe like $50. And then the same with the ALS course. I actually just took my ALS course last Friday, and the ALS course is pricier. It was $140, and that's where you learn how to intubate, you learn how to treat fatal cardiac arrhythmias and stuff like that, and how to run a code basically. So that's another thing that you need to think about. And then campus parking, something that I miss about being in the Central Valley is like all the community, well, I didn't think Fresno State does charge you, huh? But I remember West Hills Community College in Lemoore didn't charge us anything for parking, but expect to pay for parking. Luckily, because we were online for the majority of our time here, we didn't have to pay for parking until last week when they emailed us like, hey, we're back on campus, y'all need to pay for parking. And they want us to pay them $100 for like 2 months that's left. So unfortunately, that's just something else that you need to take into account. And then other miscellaneous things like for educational purposes, Anki, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Anki. It's just like the flashcard program. It's free on desktop, but I believe $25 on the iPad. So that's why I put it on there. A lot of my classmates really enjoy Anki, and they do, Anki sets together and distribute them to the class. So if that's something that you think you might be interested in, definitely start looking into it now. That way you can get a hold of how Anki works. And that way, by the time you get to PA school, you're like an Anki master and you don't have to spend time trying to learn how to operate it. Sketchy Farm, Rosh Review, Smarty Pants, these are all just, I don't even know what to call them. Services that teach you how to, like supplemental educational resource that Sketchy Farm is like a cartoon, shows you how all the different medications work, and it's very interactive, so it can help you remember medications. And that way, Rosh Review and Smarty Pants are kind of just like practice questions to help you prepare for the pants. And they're very helpful. I haven't paid for it yet, but that's because I haven't started fully studying for the pants yet. I'm kind of slow on didactic year. But I do follow a lot of accounts on Instagram, and every day I get like maybe 3 questions from these different accounts about the pants, and I answer them. And so yeah, that's how I get my practice, through Instagram. Instagram has so many resources for us, y'all. Highly recommend sifting through there. And then Pants Prep Pearls, you probably heard about it. Here, let me get it and show you. So it's this book, and it's basically, it doesn't come binded like this. I actually had it binded. Well, my fiance actually took it to Staples and he did it for me. But yeah, it's basically, someone wrote this book and it summarizes the main concepts and things that are tested on the most on the pants. And a lot of us use this to supplement our own studying right now during didactic. And it's very helpful. I think it is. A lot of students will tell you that it also is. And this is just one. There's actually 2. So it's this one and another one. And, I'm not sure about how much it costs on its own, but once again, our awesome VP, he did a bulk order for us. And so we only had to pay $44 total, including tax and whatever. So whenever you get into your program, talk to your classmates, start bulk ordering stuff. That way you can get discounts. And then so living expenses. As you know, it's going to vary depending on where your program is. As you know, it's very, very expensive. The housing crisis is ridiculous. I hate it every day. It's just so unfair. But alas, we have to know how much rent goes for in the area which you're going to live. And then some things that you have to consider are you going to do student housing on campus? Does your program even offer student housing? I know some smaller programs don't have student housing. So you're gonna have to look for apartments in the surrounding area or homes, whatever the case may be. Are you gonna live with roommates? How many? What's your target rent that you wanna pay for? Do you wanna pay maybe $600 of rent? Sounds like a lot, but unfortunately that's how it goes in LA. I used to pay $625 for rent only for 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Westwood. So in total, I think the rent was, do the math, like 2,700. Are you gonna be able to commute from your home? So maybe you can save money by staying at home and just commuting. A lot of my classmates, as I mentioned before, do that. That's because a lot of them are from kind of the LA area, SoCal area. So they save money that way. But then it's kind of like you have to do a balance thing because, like I mentioned, some of them do travel up to 2 hours each way. So it's like, okay, it's like time, money, study time, exhaustion, staying up late, driving in the morning, just things to think about. And then of course, utilities. Some places will include water, gas, electric, etc. Some don't. Does it get super, super hot where you're gonna be? Are you gonna have the AC cranking? Just things to think about because as you know, AC bills can be quite hefty. And then, like I mentioned, the commuting, and it's not just about gas, it's about making sure that your vehicle, is okay. Are oil changes, checking your tires, even car insurance. Do you have to pay your car insurance, all that stuff, And then of course, health insurance. Most programs require that you have some sort of insurance. And as students, you can apply to Medi-Cal. You can, if you're under 26, you can still be on your parents' insurance if that's an option for you. Maybe your spouse can have you under them. Or maybe you're just gonna have to, go with the school's insurance, and that's what I'm doing currently. But the NHSC does pay for that, so I'm very grateful for that. And then, or of course, you have out of pocket, so paying for insurance out of pocket, which can also be hefty. And it just depends on what you need as an individual. Do you have a lot of medications that are you gonna have to make more frequent visits to your PCP or specialist for whatever condition that you may have? Or you're generally healthy, only really need to go for a wellness check once a year, if that, because let's face it, as students, even as PA students, we don't do the best job of taking care of ourselves sometimes, unfortunately. But just things to think about when deciding about your insurance options and stuff. And then food. As I mentioned before, groceries are just getting more expensive. I know because I grocery shop, and I've noticed it myself. But maybe you don't cook, and maybe you are going to rely on frozen meals, which I hope not, but a lot of my classmates, they do buy a lot of pre-made food, like at Trader Joe's and stuff like that. Or they go back home on the weekends and pick up food that their parents made for them. So there's another commuting thing. And then takeout and coffee runs. I'm a coffee person, so I do get coffee more often than I probably should. And then we also have to remember that you want to be able to budget, if you can, you almost have to, I feel like, at least maybe like once every couple of weeks, treat yourself to a nice takeout meal, or maybe go to the movies, hang out with your classmates. At the end of a hard week, are you going to want to do that Friday? At least that's how it works for us here. We just like do nothing Friday afternoons and go out and have a bite to eat, or maybe go get some boba, or whatever the case may be for you. So you also want to make sure that you're budgeting for, your own social and personal expenses, fitness memberships, streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, Disney Plus. And when it comes to clinical rotations, which is where I'm at right now currently, you're going to have to find out where your program does their rotations, because maybe the rotations that they have listed for you are going to be maybe 2-3 hours away from the actual campus. And maybe depending on which rotations you might possibly get, you might have to move out of your current place that you're staying at and move somewhere closer to alleviate the commuting time and costs. So that's just another thing to think about too, y'all, that the clinical rotation price. Yeah, especially if you're gonna, like, for surgery, ER, tough rotations like that, or OB-GYN, depending on who your preceptor is, you might be called 3 a.m. in the morning and you have to go to the hospital for an emergency surgery or a delivery. So just things to think about as well. And then also, of course, knowing what debt or payments you currently have now that are going to transfer over during your time in PA school. Also, I feel like we all know it, but I just still wanted to put it there so you don't forget and you can account for it when or if you go through this. And then also, y'all, family emergencies. My spring break was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. It's all a blur. But we only had 1 week of spring break. Well, not only, it's common, right? But we had 1 week of spring break. And unfortunately, I had to travel back home emergently because my grandma had to go through emergency surgery. So I personally had to go back home for that. And so with gas being how it is right now, that was a cool $120 right there, just traveling to and then coming back. And so, yeah, so just, you always want to, if you can, have a little cushion for yourself for emergencies. But at the end of the day, somehow it just works out. And then, so those are kind of the costs associated during PA school that I thought about. And then, so once you graduate, you're going to have to take the PANCE, which is $550. And then you're going to have to get licensed for your state. And I actually learned a little bit about this as I was researching for this. And state licensure with the background check is gonna be about $200 and some dollars. I'm not sure if there's other stuff that we're gonna have to pay for, but you're looking at least, like, give or take $800 right there, right? It's ridiculous, but alas, we must budget. And so, yeah, so that's kind of everything that I thought of, y'all. There are so many resources out there, PA alumni, people who are much better versed in budgeting than I am, but this is just what I was able to pull together for you. And so it's just important, if you can, to start jotting down what you think everything might be. And I am totally understanding of the fact that some of us literally work paycheck to paycheck, even as students. We might have families that we have to provide for, and maybe we can't save money as much as we'd like. So how do we pay for PA school even then? So there are different ways that we can pay for PA school. If you have personal savings, that's awesome, super awesome. Good for you. But I found that even no matter how many, at least for me, I was not super rich and didn't have the means to pay out of pocket for PA school myself. But I don't know where I was going with that. But if you have your own savings that you can pay for PA school, or at least partial PA school, like maybe, oh, you know, I'm just gonna put down maybe a few hundred for this, or maybe $1,000 for this. Of course, you can do that. But I will say that some of my classmates who thought that they were going to pay more out of their own pocket for tuition costs and fees, they decided, they were like, yeah, you know, just watching all that chunk of money get out of my savings all at once was pretty scary. So I ended up just pulling out a little bit more loan than I had initially thought. So that brings me to loans, or actually working during PA school. Let me just touch that. I personally don't know of a classmate who is still working right now. At least for our program, it's very fast paced. It's 24 months. It's, I think, one of the faster PA programs out there. I don't think there are PA programs that are less than 24 months. So obviously it's very fast paced. You have to learn a lot. You know that there are programs that are 3 years long. You might, I don't know, you might be able to work in there with their program, but in general, all the programs will tell you, do not recommend, because you need that time to study. Honestly, you really do. In the beginning of the year, one of my classmates, she was working as a farm tech, and she kept working as a farm tech, I believe, on the weekends. And it was like, not even, I think maybe like at the 1 month mark, she said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep doing this. Like, I need the time on the weekends to study and catch up and whatnot. But one of my other classmates during break, he told me not that long ago that he actually picked up a few ER shifts during winter break. So that's an option if you want to work during your breaks, maybe pick up a few monies, you can do that. But he doesn't currently work right now. So honestly, it's very hard, y'all, very hard. I don't work. And then so we come to loans, which is the main way that most students pay for PA school. And then so there are two different types of loans. You have your federal loans and your private loans. I don't want to insult your intelligence if you already know what this is, but I just kind of gave basic breakdown because honestly, I didn't even really know too much about this until I started applying to PA school. So you have your federal loans that are given to you by the Department of Education, you know, basically the government. And then you have your private loans, so private loan companies. Federal loans, you have to submit a FAFSA application. Private loans, you do your own thing with them. And then so under federal loans, you have direct, subsidized, and unsubsidized loans. The subsidized loans are only available to undergraduate students. And the direct unsubsidized loan, also referred to as the Stafford loan, that one is available to graduate and professional students. And I don't know if it's just a countrywide thing, or if it's just for our program, but I think it's for everything. They will give you a maximum of $20,500 with the Stafford loan. And then so you're like, okay, but that barely doesn't even cover like one semester of PA school. How am I going to pay for the rest? So then your Grad Plus loan comes in and they will cover the remaining amount or cost of attendance of your program. So basically, how do they know how much you need? The program, your financial aid office sends, you know, the FAFSA loan, the federal loan companies, how much it costs for you to attend their program, including cost of living. So they include all of that in there, and that's how the loans come to you and be like, okay, I can offer you this much. Do you want to take it all? Do you want to take some? And even if you think you might need more than they are offering you, you can request to get more. You just have to talk to your financial advisor on campus. So it's really good to get close and to know your financial advisor on campus so they can help you budget, so they can help you with calculating your loans, when you're gonna have to pay them back, how much interest they're charging you, because that's the thing with unsubsidized loans. Unsubsidized loans, you get charged interest on that loan, whereas the undergraduate subsidized loan, there's no interest charged, or I believe that the government pays for it. So basically, you don't have to pay for the interest. And then, let's see, what else was I going to say? Yeah, so that's the essence of the federal loans, and honestly, it's how the majority of my classmates are paying for PA school currently. I learned about this new thing while I was researching for y'all, the IASAs. Has anyone heard about them? Yeah, so I found this website from Empowered PAs, and she was talking about this new thing called income share agreements. And what it is, in a nutshell, is basically kind of like a loan, a little different. So what it is this company agrees to pay for your however much you need for your schooling, and you have to pay back you have to pay them back in 5 years. After you graduate, you have to pay them back a total of 5 years for what you borrowed. But it's not as simple as that. And I hope I don't confuse y'all, but that's why I included the link so you can go to it on your own time and kind of get a better understanding of it. They will charge you a certain percentage of your PA salary once you start making over $40,000 once you start working. And so once you start working and you're making over $40,000, they're going to expect you to pay them, let's say 9% of your salary that year. And then so you'll do that for a total of 5 years. And she, this PA, she kind of did the math, and she came across that it kind of evens out to almost the same as what it would be that you're paying for if you're doing a loan and you're having to pay back for a total of 10 years. So that's an option. That's kind of what I got from it. I'm not an expert on it. It was the first time I heard about it, but it sounds like a pretty cool option. And also one of the positive things about it that I read is that if for whatever reason something happens, an emergency happens, and you can't work, and you don't have that PA salary income, or you're not making for whatever reason over $40,000, they will just pause and they'll be like, it's okay. We'll start back up once you get back to that threshold $40,000. So, but the essence of it is a total of 5 years to pay them back. So that's that on that. And then you have your loan repayment programs that are, there's several, there's not just NHGC ones, there's several. I have the link there. Basically is, they're pretty much, you work at a clinic or somewhere and for a certain amount of time, and this company agrees to pay back your loans. And then you have scholarships. I also have a link here. I can't believe I only have 10 minutes. I'm sorry, y'all. I have a link for the scholarships, and I'm going to spend a little more time now. I'm going to kind of flash through talking about the NHGC Scholarship, because I think it's an amazing opportunity for anyone interested in pursuing a primary care profession as a PA. And especially since I know that all of us, or at least all of you, are currently going to Fresno State, which is in the Central Valley. You might also be from the Central Valley and have an inclination to go back and serve your community. So this is like the perfect opportunity for you to get a full ride scholarship for PA school. So yeah, essentially that's what it is. Full ride scholarship. They pay for tuition, fees, computer, health insurance. They even will give you a stipend for one clinical rotation, like all the expenses that will go for going to a clinical rotation that's kind of outside of where you're living. And then you also get a monthly stipend for your own personal expenses, living expenses of $1,400 a month. After taxes, though, that drops down to $1,200. So basically, full ride scholarship plus a monthly stipend. And then, so who qualifies? Or let me backtrack, I'm getting excited. Who can apply to this is any student currently enrolled in a PA, MD, DO, NP, nurse midwife, or dentistry program. So I put all of these here because if you have any friends or any people that you know who are also trying to be an NP, if you work with nurses and they want to go to NP school, let them know about this opportunity. I don't think a lot of people know about it either. So it's not just for medical students, it's for all of these disciplines as well. And you can apply once you get accepted, or if you don't apply that first year of PA school, you can still apply the second year and get your whole second year paid for. And then so the caveat is that you'll have to provide a minimum 2-year service at they call it a health professional shortage area clinic or site in the United States. And these are locations of all of those sites. And of course, you already know the Central Valley is basically a shortage area. So you'll have no trouble going back home or going back to Central Valley and finding a place there. You can go to New York if you find a clinic that's, needs providers. You can basically go anywhere in the United States, is what I'm trying to say. And then so some of the pros of this scholarship, like I said, it pays for everything. Essentially, you get a monthly stipend. You won't have a loan balance, or maybe you can minimize the amount of loans that you do take out once you're done with PA school. So that's like, just less of a potential stressor on you once you graduate. And then, but also get back to your community and serve. That's what I've always wanted to go back home and serve there. And when I learned about the scholarship years ago, I thought, wow, that's so awesome. I hope to get it one day. And well, I did, very grateful, but this could also be you. So I think it's a great opportunity, but then you also have to realize some of the cons of applying or of getting this scholarship. So the discipline in which you have to practice in has to be primary care. So if you're someone that's really gung-ho or pretty sure that you're not going to want to do primary care, you might want to do dermatology, neurology, ER med, stuff like that, then you're not going to be able to apply for this scholarship because you do have to work at a primary care discipline. And so what are these primary care disciplines? They can include family practice, pediatrics, women's health, even mental health. So if that's something that interests you, those are specialties in themselves, right? But they kind of fall under the realm of primary care. So those are also options. And then once you graduate PA school and you get certified and all that, you have 6 months to start working or find a site to work at. If not, they will put you somewhere that they need you at. So that's something to keep in mind. And then you're only allowed 35 days vacation per year once you start working. And then, like I said, it's a minimum of 2-year commitment because you pulled out. So basically, it's like if you're a medical student and you use their money for 3 years, you're gonna have to give back 3 years. Use it for 4, you're gonna have to give back 4 years. But yeah, and then also, I didn't want to list it under a con, but just as a note, I was notified of being a recipient in August, right, during orientation week, but I didn't receive any monies until November. You're like, oh, okay. So then how did you pay for, tuition and all that? I actually, and it was my plan, right? My default plan. If I didn't get the scholarship, I was just going to do loans. So I took out loans to pay. And then once I got the scholarship, they paid for my stuff and then just returned the money to the loan people. So that's how it worked. So I just want to tell y'all that's how it is. They notify you pretty late. Well, they notify you pretty late after tuition is due, and then you don't actually get money until like almost halfway through your first semester. And then also, I feel like this is common knowledge, but you have to remain in good academic standing throughout the program. And you have to submit proof. It's called verification of good standing form every semester, along with your unofficial transcript to prove that you're in good academic standing. And good academic standing as defined per your program. And then so who can apply aside from, students in PA school, DO school, MPs, etc. You have to be a US citizen or national, and then the program has to be in the US or in the US territories. Although I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't think there's any PA programs in any US territories like Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands, I'm not sure. But yeah, so it doesn't take much. I mean, if you can apply. And then so the actual application process, it's not as daunting as the CASPA, y'all. The CASPA will be like the most, intricate part of applying to PA school. And this one itself is not bad. It's, your typical online application where you have to answer questions about where you went to school. You have to upload unofficial transcripts, stuff like that. You have to do a background check, whatever. And then 2 letters of recommendation, one non-academic, and the non-academic, they define it as an individual who is familiar with your professional, community, and or civic activities, especially related to underserved communities. I asked, I don't know if you remember, Junior or Lise Rivera, PAC now. He wrote that one for me. Super grateful for that. And then for my academic letter of recommendation, so it's an academic and non-academic letter of rec, I had my medical Spanish professor or instructor write it for me. Because to be honest, y'all, at this time that I was applying, I hadn't taken a science class for a while, or at least I hadn't been in contact with a professor that I felt like I had a strong bond with in a while. So the only person that I felt like could write me a strong academic letter was from my medical Spanish professor. And then so I ended up getting it. So I guess that was okay. I remember thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to apply because, she wasn't a department chair or a faculty member, but she was someone who taught me something in my most recent academic journey, and it ended up working. And if you ever have any questions or doubts about, oh, what do I submit for this, or do I qualify? You can always just go on the website and send them an email, contact them. Very easy. And then, so I kind of went over this already, just, documentation, other documentation like your birth certificate, a verification of good standing or an acceptance letter from the program if you haven't actually started your program. So that's what I had to do. I sent a screenshot, basically a copy of my acceptance letter, and then also a verification form from the program. And for that, I believe I contacted, I don't recall, it wasn't financial aid, maybe it was just like your general student resources people, but they were able to fill that out for me. And then there's also a form that you don't have to fill out, but if you qualify as someone coming from a disadvantaged background, you can also submit that, thus increasing your chances of getting the scholarship. I myself didn't submit one, but they have a specific definition of what it means to come from a disadvantaged background. I didn't include it on here, but the link that I have on here tells you, defines it for you. And of course, a resume or a CV, unofficial transcripts, like I said, and then the current tuition or fees of the program that you will be attending or are currently attending. That way they kind of know, okay, so if we do accept her, this is about how much we're going to have to spend on him or her. I'm assuming that's basically what they want it for. And then your 3 essays, which are less than 500 words, y'all, so it's not bad. And these are the current essay prompts for this current application cycle. I've actually helped two of my classmates with their essays right now. But yeah, so it's basically the first one, explaining what patient-centered care means to you. The second one, providing an example of where you proposed an innovative solution to a challenge or a problem and the effects that that had on whatever it is. And then describing an experience and in which you contributed to the well-being of an underserved community. So what did I write for these? For the third one, I actually wrote about, I think I started at something along the lines of, the well-being of a community goes far beyond the physical manifestations of disease and such. And I kind of wanted to explain that well-being of communities is also about access to educational resources. And so that's what I spoke about, kind of how I've contributed to underserved high schools, colleges, whatever you may. If you want more info, if you want me to share my essays with you, I can totally do that, I don't mind. The second one, I talked about a time in the ER when one of the residents asked me to help. This was during my role as a patient care advocate, where they asked me to help this patient who was undocumented and had pretty much exhausted all of her options to treat her trigeminal neuralgia, which is a very, 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 very debilitating and painful disease. Your last option pretty much at that point, if you arrive to this unfortunate stage, is surgery to alleviate pressure from the nerve that's being caused by a vein usually. And even that is just like, it's not 100% that you'll get better. So I kind of detailed about my experience of how I tried to help her get Medi-Cal or specialty care. And honestly, it didn't end well because I couldn't reach her afterwards after that visit. So I kind of just detailed about that and proposed how we should move on forward next time we see a patient who is undocumented and how to help them before they leave the ER, so we don't leave them empty-handed, And then the first one, kind of self-explanatory. I think I talked about when we received a hypotensive elderly woman to our ER, and I think she was having a GI bleed and she needed blood because she was very hypotensive. And in Spanish, she said, no, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, so I won't accept it. And then just kind of talking about what ensued after that when her daughter came in and kind of had like a little moment where they were arguing, like, man, how could, like, you need this, don't be dumb. I guess they were from different faiths. So just talking about how to best handle that situation and treat not only the patient, but the family member, and how to alleviate, those burdens that they have on themselves individually and as a family unit, and how we'll encounter a lot of this in our underserved communities. So that's what I wrote about. And I'm sorry, I'm like very late, but one of diversity PA on Instagram, her name is Tia, she's a PAC. She is doing an IG live this Thursday on the NHGC Scholarship. She's a recipient herself, and she's been a practicing primary care PA, I believe, for like the last 7 years. And when I was applying last year, I went to her and I was asking her questions. So she helped me during the application process. So I just wanted to make you aware of this opportunity this Thursday if you want to learn more about it, because there's always more to learn. I kind of sped through everything and there's always more information. So if you're interested in that, that's there. And yeah, that's all, y'all. You have any questions? I know it's like over the time limit. I'm sorry. I hate when my profs do this, but alas, it happens.
It's all good, Sammy. But yeah, if there are any questions, you guys could feel free to ask Sammy. I did want to mention here, if you guys could complete the attendance form. It just takes like 1 to 2 minutes. It's pretty easy. Just kind of get feedback on these events and so on and so forth, and then apply that feedback to future events to kind of tailor to the club's needs. So if you guys have any questions, you guys could ask them, mute yourselves or add it in the chat, and I'll give you guys maybe a couple minutes to fill out that form as well.
Oh, I forgot about the chat. See, I'm just like my professors that forget to check the chat. So what is provisional? So provisional accreditation for PA programs, is that what you're referring to? I don't know if Jada, if you're still here. Oh, I see you, Jada.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so provisional means in order for a PA program to exist or start enrolling students, they have to be accredited. And programs can be different types of accredited. They can be just fully accredited. They can be provisionally accredited, or they can be on probation or probationary accreditation. So what provisional means, and provisional is basically, for most programs, it means that they're newer programs that are just starting, that have to build up basically time to prove that they are meeting the standards of the PA board for PA programs to exist. If you attend, and so you're like, okay, so why does that matter to me? Like, why is it important for me to know? It's important for you to know because at the end of whatever PA program you go to, the goal is to take the PANCE, which is the Physician Assistant National Certifying Exam that will allow you to start practicing. So the program that you attend has to have accreditation. And if for some reason, let's say if you're in a program that is on probationary accreditation, and for whatever reason, by the time that you take the PANCE, they don't make it through, then you're not going to be able to sit through the PANCE. Provisional accreditation, you are allowed to sit for the PANCE still. So it's basically okay to attend these programs. It's more of like the probationary accreditation programs that you should be more wary of. Like, let's say if it's one of the only programs you got accepted to, you're gonna have to okay, should I go to this program? Should I just apply next year? You know what, let me call someone from that program and see what they have to say. I know Loma Linda University, for example, very, I guess you could say, more prestigious, well-known, reputable PA programs in California. They were actually on probationary status, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. And I remember when I went to their PA student conference, they explained why they were on probation. And it's basically they submitted some form wrong. So they were just trying to fix that on their end. So if you find yourself in this situation, you can always call the program and they'll be happy to explain to you what's going on and what they can suggest for you. So that's basically what it means. I hope that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. I'm like, I'm just gonna stare at them how my professors stare at us until people start logging out. Yeah, y'all. I hope this was helpful.
It was very helpful, Sammy. But yeah, I think we're okay then. Does anybody have any last minute questions or anything?
I think you guys have my my contact info, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you fill out the
You can
form,
message me.
yeah, if you fill out the form, we'll be sharing the slides with you, and also Sammy's information as well. If you want, you can go to the next slide then, Sammy, and we just go over the ending part of today's event. But essentially, this is the club email, the board members' email as well. If you ever want to contact any of us and just ask us any questions, and our group me chat and socials is right there as well. If you guys have not followed us or joined that. But other than that, if there are no more questions, just make sure to fill out the attendance form. It's still in the chat, and we'll send you guys Sammy's information in case you have any other questions for her. And yeah, we appreciate you all for coming, and we very much appreciate you, Sammy, as well. There's a ton of information, and I'll definitely personally, at least me, will be looking into I forgot the abbreviation, but the N something scholarship.
It's called the National Health Services Corps Scholarship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good opportunity. So yeah, I'll definitely be looking into that and everything else that's on the PowerPoint.
Yeah, please reach out, y'all. Reach out to me. I've said this before, but I wouldn't be here without all the networking that I did. All the networking, whether it's in person or via Instagram. I always say that. I learned so much from Instagram and all the pre-PA accounts. Truly, truly, truly. Even to this day, as a PA student, I still am getting so much information from PA students or PA alumni. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Do you want me to stay? Do you want to talk more?
Definitely, yeah. So I'm gonna pause the recording now.